All right, and good morning. Let me bring this microphone over here. How we doing, Cameroon?
It's starting to feel a lot like Christmas. So let me reiterate. Merry Christmas, you commie bastards.
Merry Christmas, you commie bastards. What are we talking about this morning, Cameron?
Well, I mean, it's Me More Monday, so we've got to talk about the meme that has taken over the internet, and Baby Yoda. And really, what we're actually going to talk about is, the patriarchy and why Hollywood is dying and, SJW bullshit and how Disney almost killed Star Wars. And then Jon Favreau in one, what's that segment, like 90 seconds, 120 seconds?
Something.
And in one, basically 2-minute segment, Jon Favreau came back and said, no. Some of us still love you guys, okay? I'm sorry. I promise, I'm sorry.
And what was it exactly that he did to save the entire Star Wars franchise?
He gave us Luke Skywalker acting like a fucking hero. He's an archetypical hero.
Wait. Can you say that one more time for me?
He gave us Luke Skywalker acting like a fucking hero.
Okay, one more time. This time I won't interrupt.
He gave us Luke Skywalker acting like a fucking hero.
That's right.
Luke Skywalker is the archetypical hero. Like, literally, the original Star Wars movie is the hero's journey. Okay?
Okay.
Like,
so there you go. I've hit you with the spoiler alert splash twice. It was in the description before you clicked on this video. You have been adequately warned. Spoilers ahead. If you have not yet seen the season finale of season 2 of The Mandalorian, we feel no more pity for you. Here we go.
Yeah, and for real, like, if you haven't seen it by now, and frankly, if it hasn't been spoiled for you by now, because, it was all over my social media feed by Friday afternoon. Like, oh my God, did that really just happen? So let's just back up a bit. And this is one of those things Chris and I have actually talked about doing a constructed essay on. As in like a video essay to really dig into hey, thanks for sharing the chat with me. That's fantastic.
Yeah, we had some technical difficulty with that on Friday. For some reason, I kept hitting share screen. We even tried to have Cameron share his screen with me, but for some reason we just couldn't get the chat shared over to him.
But anyhow, let's just back it up a second, okay? It's 2014 and Disney acquires Lucasfilm. And I can't even say that I'm mad at George Lucas for it. Like, Disney came along and was like, no. We're going to give you like $1 billion in cash and $1 billion in stock. And George Lucas went, yeah, okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. It's hard to argue with. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah. But gosh,
I would happily sell the Secret and Most Sacred Society of Pizza Ninjas and Obscure Geniuses, or the Chronicle of the Kingmaker for that price, and twice on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Which, Disney, if you're listening, tomorrow's Tuesday. just saying.
Yeah, but that stock value's gone down a wee bit.
Indeed.
So what happened? Well,
it's actually quite simple, Cameron. Star Wars is a lot like California. If you get a bunch of progressives involved, you can just watch it go downhill. You bring in the Democrats, and the next thing you know, you're covered up with homeless people and bizarre drugs and medieval blights like I don't know, the Black Death and leprosy. Oh, and also your economic value tanks dramatically.
Ah, yes, see?
Mostly because of the homeless people and leprosy and heroin and bubonic plague.
Yes.
And Gavin Newsom.
So, what happens? Okay, so, fans like you and I, we're kind of cautiously optimistic. Like, oh, okay, more Star Wars, and it's going to have Disney money behind it.
Yeah, I was cautiously optimistic until about 9 minutes into Rise of Skywalker. Was that the first of the first of the failure? Was that the beginning of the end?
I would say that the beginning of the end was The Last Jedi.
Or I'm sorry, The Force Awakens. The Force Awakens.
The Force Awakens, in context, if the two movies that came after it hadn't been SJW garbage, we'd have understood that it was the safe movie. It was the stepping stone. But
yes, but then we got the two after it, and I only watched the second of the three. Or rather, I only watched the first two of the three. The second one was so bad that I still refuse to watch the third one, even though it's free. I could watch it for free on Disney Plus now.
Well, see, and here's what really happened. Kathleen Kennedy got involved, and Kathleen Kennedy's kind of an interesting character. She has been part of major productions, like going all the way back to, like, she worked with Steven Spielberg and George Lucas on Raiders of the Lost Ark. So as far as her experience and pedigree is concerned, she's not necessarily a bad fit to head up Lucasfilm. But then she just had to go SJW with it. Like, as soon as she started putting out those bullshit shirts that said, "The Force is female," it was like, no, it's not. Have you not seen The Empire Strikes Back? Like, Yoda has this whole thing where he explains the Force, and it's pretty fucking clear that it doesn't even have a gender. God.
Well, that's just like the whole God's a woman thing. What? Well, you're just hung up. If you don't think God's a woman, you're just hung up on these traditional gender stereotypes. No, if you think God has a gender, then you're the one that's hung up on the gender question.
Yes, indeed. So she comes in and she does her whole Force is female thing, and man, I gotta tell you,
and Admiral Gender Studies.
Look, I almost prefer the Force's midichlorians to the Force's female. Like,
yeah.
And then The Last Jedi basically broke it. And in particular, one of the most egregious sins of The Last Jedi was the fact that Luke Skywalker basically acted like a bitch for the majority of the movie. And there's interviews with Mark Hamill. You can go back and watch them where he was actually a little put off. He was like, I really fundamentally disagree with the way you're interpreting this character. But, he's the actor, not the director. So he kind of had to do what he was told. And then when we finally do get some sense of action out of Luke, he doesn't actually do anything other than just serve as a distraction so the rest of the good guys can get away. And it's just terribly, terribly, terribly disappointing.
Yeah, he's that little holographic decoy disc that you get in shooter games.
That's actually not that far off.
I know. He even disappears and becomes useless as soon as he's been spent.
The Pollock.
A non-renewable resource.
Zaluska says, "R.I.P. Admiral Akbar. He should have been driving the ship." Oh, see, that's funny if you've seen The Last Jedi. Oh, okay. Anyhow, so, but injecting all of that bullshit into the second movie in particular just ruined it. And the most egregious sin, of course, was we never got a heroic moment with Luke. Not a truly heroic moment. And then
no, in fact, even worse. What we got was the kind of allusion to making a sacrifice, to making a last stand, to sacrificing yourself to the greater good, which is not a position I generally agree with, but it is a traditional heroic maneuver trope. But as soon as you find out, he's not even really there. He was never at any risk. He did not take a risk. And that's the heroic thing to do, is to gamble on achieving a good result. Hey, real quick, Danny just popped up in the chat too. We've got Steve with us, Zaluska or that Polak Zaluska. He changed it. Danny's here, Krista's here, and Danny, my deepest apologies for not being able to make it yesterday. Recovery is going well, but not well enough. So I just like the past couple weeks, since we're done with the show this morning, I'm pretty much going back to bed for most of the day. I'll be up and down, but yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry I couldn't get out there yesterday.
Zaluska says that was BS. He died anyways. Yes, that's actually what I was about to say next. That's part of the problem. Then Luke dies at the end of the movie. So we're denied the opportunity to actually see him engage in the heroics.
In fact, let me take that a step further. We got cheated there because, like I was saying, Luke did the thing that was on the face of it, the sacrificial maneuver, which is a very heroic trope. And then we learned that, oh, well, there wasn't even any risk involved. And then he voluntarily dies anyway, even though he pulled the clever move to achieve the risk, to achieve the reward from taking the risk without actually taking the risk. So we got cheated twice.
Yes. And then, and in fact, just that whole movie, like when Finn was going to sacrifice himself to destroy the Doom gun, I forget exactly what it was called, but it was the Doom gun. And then the most annoying character that ever hit Star Wars came in and stopped him from sacrificing himself to destroy the Doom gun. We're not going to win by fighting what we hate, but by protecting what we love. No, bullshit. It's called Star Wars, not Star Love. Like, come on now.
And, you know, it's funny. There's even a piece of her sentiment that I agree with. I'm a big fan of the line, "No poor bastard ever did anything by dying for his country. Your job is to make the other poor sucker die for his."
I feel like you cleaned up the language there a lot.
No, not really. That's almost verbatim. It's not a perfect quote, but it's almost verbatim. I think that was Patton.
Yeah, no, that was definitely Patton, and it's my understanding like every fourth word out of that man's mouth was fuck.
And I'm strangely comfortable with it. But in the context of Finn and the diversity hire, No, Steve, they definitely did not.
It would have been a much better movie had they paraphrased Patton, that's for sure.
Yeah. But in the context of Finn and the diversity hire, she was saying that, like she was asking him to take himself out of the fight completely. Patton's point, and this is something that soldiers have to learn to understand, it's not that I'm willing to lay down my life for my country. It's that I'm willing to take that risk in order to pursue the mission. Right? And sometimes the risk is higher than other times. But the objective is never to die for the country. The objective is to complete the mission. You'll hear Mike Rowe has done some wonderful stuff about the safety first culture, and we have a safety first culture, and it's disgusting. It's absolutely infuriating. Every time I hear the words safety first, if we're not playing a sport, if we're not doing something for pure entertainment, you can shove your safety first right up your ass. Mission first. That's right, Steve. Charlie Mike, baby. One of the pieces Mike Rowe did where he talked about this particular problem, he went out on one of the big, I think it was a crabbing boat.
Yeah, those things are just inherently dangerous.
And he was having a conversation with the boat captain and asked him about safety measures. And the boat captain said, "Look, there are safety measures on here to help you out, but your job is to get yourself home. My job is to get you rich."
Yeah, that is the one thing about working those crab boats. Like, you're basically out at sea for a month and come back with like 20 grand. Now, the odds that you will get injured or killed are much higher than just about every other job on the planet. But, I mean, you make the money. Like, it happens. So what The Mandalorian has done and what Jon Favreau has done is he gave us the heroic moment with Luke Skywalker, and this is important because Star Wars, like we said in the beginning, is literally like it's archetypes. Like it is Carl Jung in action, baby. It is what it is. Like your good guys are good guys, and your villains are villains, and your men are men, and your women are women, and you know, blah. It just is what it is. And then,
well, and even that, Princess Leia broke a lot of the traditional feminine molds. And funny story, it wasn't obnoxious.
yeah, because she was still a princess. Huh, that's important. She was still a princess. Was she a badass with a salty mouth? Yeah, of course. But was she still incredibly attractive? Like just before she and Luke swing across the chasm in the first movie, she leans over and she kisses him and says, "For luck." Like, there's no reason to do that in real life, but that's kind of an emotionally enriching thing that you could picture a man and a woman doing in a high-stress environment, which obviously has no fucking place in the tyranny of Kathleen Kennedy and her Star Wars destroying the Force's female bullshit ways. And then here's what's really, really, really funny is the Mandalorian is full of female badasses.
Yes. And before we dig into that anymore, let me put a button on the whole thing with Kennedy. What made the Disney trilogy so bad is that on the face of it, Kathleen Kennedy hates not conservatives in this particular case. She clearly hates conservatives as well, but specifically she hates Star Wars fan base. And the clear objective, and I'm not just taking this from analysis of the films, having seen them, but from statements made by the people involved, including Kennedy herself, and many of the actors, Boyega and what's-her-face that played which it was a Jedi, Pollyanna.
Daisy Ridley.
And Admiral Gender Studies. I mean, come on. Admiral Gender Studies, the diversity hire, the whole frickin' cast and crew gave us basically they wanted to make money off of Star Wars movies, but they hate the Star Wars fan base. And so the objective was to replace the Star Wars fan base with another willing open purse. And the willing open purse they chose, they fell into the same trap that the legacy media fell into, is they hired some kind of focus group advisory board that said progressive politics is where it's at, is where everything's at. And the problem with that idea is that what they're doing is they're going on Twitter and they're saying, see, everybody loves progressive politics. And they're forgetting that Twitter is like
8% of the population,
3%,
something like that.
8% of the population. It's minuscule,
Yeah.
right? The vast majority of people, if they're not vehemently opposed to all the progressive garbage that's being propagated on Twitter, it's that they haven't bothered to form an opinion of it. The vast majority of people that go along to get along with all that garbage have not bothered to be informed on it and form an opinion on it. And if you start having a conversation with them, like for example, there was, and who knows, this might get this video removed. We've already had one removed over the whole election thing. But for example, there was a survey done right after the election where people who voted for Joe Biden were asked questions about the Hunter Biden laptop situation. 30% of people who voted for Biden said they didn't know about the laptop situation, and if they had, they would have voted the other way. Yeah, right? Well, so that I mentioned that study in particular to make the broader point about Twitter does not legitimately represent reality.
No.
In fact, what it legitimately represents is the opposite of reality.
Yes, it's a siloed echo chamber. And of course,
It's a glass display cabinet for mental illness.
that's good. Oh, and just as a point of fact, John Boyega, now that he's no longer under contract, um, also did not like some of the things that were done with the Disney trilogy. Just by the by.
I haven't studied up on him or followed most of it, but I've seen that basically as soon as he wasn't under contract anymore, he started crying, "Racist, give me money."
No, 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 no. It's it goes deeper than that. Like he's definitely had some. How would you? He's thrown shade at Disney. That's probably the right way to say it. Not at the fans, at Disney. It's almost like he learned the lessons from Ruin Johnson. So anyhow,
So, yeah,
yeah,
let's
yeah,
go.
we've only got a few minutes left, and this is important because one of the big things with comparing the Mandalorian, which, in all honesty, is a good TV show. It's not even the best TV show ever. It's not MASH. It's not Lost.
No, but it may be the best thing that ever happened in the Star Wars
Yes.
universe.
Yes. Now, it's certainly the best Star Wars to come out in literal decades at this point. Um, so when we compare it to the movies were agenda focused. Like, Rey was going to be the bestest ever!
Oh God, don't ever do that
I'm
again.
just saying, dude, but am I wrong? Like, why? Because she is female. And then Admiral Gender Studies, because she was like they literally put a pink-haired bitch in charge of the fleet. Like, talk about a slap in the face.
And she's not even in uniform.
No, right? How do you take her seriously? What happens if she's wearing that ball gown and they need to like run somewhere? You know?
Or be taken seriously.
I know. Every time I watch the movie, I'm like, no, I think I'm actually on Poe's side here. I would, yeah, nope, I would mutiny. It would happen.
And I mean, when I say that I would find it difficult to take my commanding officer seriously if she showed up in a bikini, and then you call me sexist, then I ask, okay, how do you expect my privates to respond to me if I show up and, give them command to fall in, half right face, front leaning rest position move, and I'm in a Speedo?
Yeah, exactly. One of the things that people like you and I were,
Ranger panties, people. Ranger panties.
one of the things that you and I were accused of by Kathleen Kennedy and Ruin Johnson and whatnot was that basically we were sexist. We can't stand the fact that now Star Wars is going to be led by a female character. And that...
Those, like when they rebooted Charlie's Angels and it didn't do very well, and the producer came out and said, "Oh, it's because men are sexist." We were like, "Okay, well, so I'm sorry, honey. Your thesis is that your movie didn't do well because you couldn't sell movie tickets to men to go see because they don't want to see boobs and explosions."
No, yeah, I promise that's
Your
not the
thesis
problem.
is that your movie did badly because men hate boobs and explosions.
Sure.
I suspect you are mistaken.
Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that theory. And if we're interrupted here shortly, it's with the arrival of the two little boys. So,
Of the spawn!
yes, I'll be at 50% capacity, and then by tomorrow morning, I will have absolute full house, and they're going to eat a lot. It's not that it was female. It is the combination of the fact that we were told things like the Force is female, and it wasn't just that we were told the Force is female. It was the fact that the male heroes in particular were torn down, and torn down deliberately. First, we watch Han Solo's character basically regress. Okay, he starts out as a scoundrel, ends up as a freaking general ready to lay down his life for the rebellion. and then he's back to being a scoundrel for some reason. And then before we can get that explained or resolved, he gets killed. And then we have Luke, who is, theoretically the most powerful Jedi that ever lived. And he turns into a little bitch that drinks green milk. But you know who didn't have those problems? Leia. Leia was still badass. She's a general. She's in charge of everything, blah, blah, blah. And it turns out that she's got super special force powers that let her survive in the vacuum of space. And even that, in and of itself, no big deal. It's not the female lead that's a problem. It's not. It's the fact that we were told everything we felt about our heroes was wrong. Like look at Sigourney Weaver in the Alien franchise. She's amazing, and I don't doubt her badassery one bit in those movies. But she's still a woman. You know, the conflict in those movies actually revolves around some pretty heavily thematic mother versus mother type stuff. The Mandalorian is different because there are actually more female characters in The Mandalorian than there are male characters, and a lot of them are just absolute badasses. And nobody makes a big damn deal out of it. And this is what's especially important, is their femininity, their feminine wiles, how about that, is acknowledged. There's even a line about Cara Dune in the first season where Queel says something like, "Oh, this one was bred in the angel colony." And you say, "Yeah, she's hot."
Yeah.
And it's not a big deal. It's not, "Oh, shame. You're not allowed to think girls are pretty." You know, you let the characters be characters. And somehow a show that you could arguably even refer to as mediocre has given Star Wars fans this gift. It's like, gosh, it's almost like John Favreau reached out and just went, "Look, no. I get it, okay? I get it. Just stick with me. I'll give you more. Just come on now."
Well, and part of why Cara Dune isn't getting the props that she deserves is because the lefties hate Gina Carano, and they hate her because she cracked one silly joke about the gender pronouns on Twitter. She included a set of gender pronouns with her Twitter handle, and they're like beep bop boop instead of his, her, whatever. Yeah. And, here's an article from the Mary Sue. "It hurts that Gina Carano ruined The Mandalorian's Cara Dune for me," is the headline. Yeah, well, I don't care.
So, and we've talked about this before. It's not that I have a problem with there being philosophy or politics mixed into the entertainment. In fact, I think that really enriches entertainment. Like, okay, sometimes John Wick is fun. There doesn't need to be a point. It can just be a movie about a rogue assassin. Sometimes that's all you need. But especially in a franchise that's about classic archetypes, you can't just decide at the last second, never mind, those archetypes don't matter anymore. And The Mandalorian has even found ways to explore the inversion of tropes with having the good guys be bad guys and bad guys be good guys. And, sometimes there's just gray area that needs to be, oh, man, Steve, yes. Hollywood needs to be sat down and Clockwork Oranged with John Wayne and Audie Murphy footage.
Funny story, Steve. I actually spent several hours yesterday trying to find some tutorials on YouTube about how to achieve the Clockwork Orange stapled eyes open special effect for another video that we want to do.
Yeah. You know how Kubrick did that, right?
He actually stapled the eyes open?
Yeah, Malcolm McDowell actually had eye damage for a few days after they filmed the scene.
Yeah, I bet. I'm thinking we're going to do it with a rubber mask.
Something like that. So yeah, it's not it's not the hating of the women. It's not even the there's a problem with women being action heroes. But what there is a problem with is being told women are exactly like men. Bullshit. Not, for women to be exactly like men, you'd also have to concede that all men are exactly alike and all women are exactly alike. And everything that goes along with that, like, it's almost like with how much you love your wife, okay? You don't just love your wife because she's a person. You don't just love her because she's a girl. There's something unique about your wife that you find more attractive than all the other women. And to say that there's no difference says that there's nothing unique about your wife, which means there's nothing unique about the bond that you have with her. And man, let me tell you, guys like you and I, we're going to reject that auto-fucking-matically, right? What do you mean there's nothing unique? Things are different with different people. And then the other thing, and this is important, like it really bothers me, like somewhere along the line, I think it's Buffy the Vampire Slayer's fault too. We got it normalized that 90-pound women can just whoop ass. Like, let's not forget, Buffy kind of had magical Slayer powers imbued upon her. Not to mention she was trained heavily in how to do all the fighting and use the weapons. Just in general, like
And in fairness, the Buffy series did a great job of her failing several times in season 1 and then less in season 2. And you actually saw not just the character development, but also the development in the training procedures. And same thing with the Scoobies. I mean, this is a little off on the tangent. Same thing with the Scoobies. Early on, her little gang of helpers, the gang grew over time, and the gang grew in experience over time.
Yes. So it's not the hatred of the women. It's the fact that, can we acknowledge the fact that they're women? You know, again, go back to Princess Leia. She's Princess Leia. Sure. She got in the blaster fights right there with the male characters, and you know, somebody's got to save our skins. Can somebody get this walking carpet out of my way? You know, just like, that's all good stuff. But it's good because how feminine she was is established. And like when Alderaan was threatened, she was terrified. You know, she's about to watch her home planet get destroyed. Women are not stoic like men. They're just not. And maybe it is a societal construct that men are stoic. I'm not even trying to get into that at this point.
It's not.
Oh, hello. I have to...
All right, so I guess it's things went wrongly. All right, so I guess it's just me for the rest of the morning. We just lost Cameron, but that's okay. Hopefully he has the foresight not to hang up the Skype and ruin everything. But the Polak Zaluska asks, dude, is that an axe on your wall? In fact, that is a treaty pipe on my wall. Not to be confused with a peace pipe. But yes, that is a treaty pipe. You can smoke it, or you can enforce the treaty with it. So, yes. And what we may have to do is... Do I have you back, Cameroon, or are you hanging up?
You have the audio.
Okay, cool. So, but your boys are there. That's great. So, let's go ahead and wrap it up. And maybe what we do is we talk about this episode a little more on the show tomorrow. Because we didn't even get into only one X-Wing arriving. It's like... Apparently, what we did learn from this episode is apparently the X-Wing operates on the theory of the ninja. You know, if there are 1,000 ninjas, they're foot soldiers. If there are 1,000 ninjas, they're crunchy. You walk right through them. They're like the putties in Power Rangers. They're the easy ones. But if it's only one ninja, oh no, no. So, all right, let's wrap it up there. Let you get off to hang out with your boys, and I will talk to you later, brother. Guys, thanks for watching. We will see you tomorrow for Taco Tuesday. Who knows what we're going to taco about? And y'all be safe out there. We love you. Thanks for watching.